Hi, I'm Heather Lang, and I am a freelance commercial dancer. I have an interesting story, and I think my story is interesting because I come from Chicago where, like, I personally feel there's not a lot of I mean, you have like two companies. You have Harbor Street, River North, and you can study at Harbor Street or Ruth Page, and I studied at both of them, mostly ballet. And as you know, being a taller woman, you're kind of in this position where it was like, around 16, it was like, make a decision. You know, it's like, do you want to be in a company? And I was kind of like, you know, on the bigger side, you know, and that's all right, that's cute for me. But that kind of, I knew I loved to dance, but I was just like, at a certain point you have to deal with reality. Like, I'm not going to be in a ballet company. So I was like, great, awesome. Started studying jazz at Hubbard Street, kind of got into a little hip hop there. And it was time to go, you know, decide which college I'm going to go to. Audition for a bunch of schools. I get into Tisch, and I'm like, you know, I love the downtown scene. I mean, New York was it. I was like, I know I want to be in New York. So I ended up in New York, and it was the best decision I could have ever made. Tisch was amazing. What I loved about it had no, like, specific technique. You know, it was just kind of like studying everything. I took class everywhere. I would hit up BDC. I would hit up the steps. I would just be everywhere. And then it was time to sort of decide after that, like, okay, do I want to be in a company? And I was like, I'm going to Europe, and I'm going to give you, you know, like, Pina Bausch, work, Pina, live for you. And just kind of do, you know, like, European dance. Well, again, I was just like, I don't know if I'm ready for that. I don't know, I love New York. You know, what am I going to do? So I pick up a Backstage, I remember, and I was like, a Backstage is like a newspaper that you pick up weekly, and it like lists all the auditions, like from, you know, regional theater to Broadway to like industrials to like little, you know, silly gigs, whatever. It's all in there, like the circus, whatever. So I would go to like every single audition. Like every single audition, like I'd be like, Avenue Q, I mean, I would just show up and they'd be like, I was non-equity at the time. I just was like, I need a dance job. So bad, you know, I just want to dance. I don't care what it is. And what was fun about that is like it forces you to sort of deal with like, oh, like I had auditioned for Rockettes 5 times. I showed up to Rockettes in like sweatpants when everybody's wearing like tan tights and leotards, like hair pulled back, French twist, red lips, and I'm like, you know. Anyway, through all that the auditioning process, I finally like got my first job doing a Broadway review in Atlantic City. Good luck with that. No, but it was really fun, and obviously I learned so much. But so that's kind of where I started out, and it was like from there, I realized, oh my God, I need to know how to sing. I didn't know how to sing. I'm coming from, you know, contemporary dance world, you know, where it's like pliés and what have you. So I had to get a vocal coach, got to, you know, started to train, went to, you know, I did a lot of regional theater like cabaret and gypsy and Cats. Don't forget your cat's hands. And then from there, I got an agent. And that's when I started to actually work commercially. And I actually work mostly commercially, which is funny, being in New York. So I've done like 3 commercials. I've been in 3 movies. I was in I Am Legend with Will Smith, and I had to shave my head bald for 7 months and fight him. And I learned how to do stunts, and like we were like being little creatures, and it was amazing. Amazing experience. I worked on a TV show recently, Rescue Me. I danced on it. It's really fun. Dennis Leary, the whole 9. I worked at the Met Opera. I've done some operas. I've done the Rockettes on tour and at Radio City. I did an opera with Julie Taymor called Grendel, where Angelan, I'm going to bash his name, Praj Lacage, was the choreographer. So then I had an opportunity to go there and perform with them. It's just been like a whole conglomerate of things. And I just got into my first Broadway show, Spiderman. I'm really excited. Julie Taymor's in it. I mean, directing it, not in it. So that's exciting. Yeah, I was in the Across the Universe with, you know, she directed that, and this is really long-winded. It's pretty exciting, and I'm trying to think the wrap-up. Oh, and then right now I'm working with my friend Jason Parsons. And we're kind of like, he's doing, you know, sort of like contemporary. He's trying to make a company, and I'm sort of helping him and helping him build choreography, and, you know, that kind of thing. So, girl, I've given you like modern, commercial, I mean, full out. It's been an interesting road. But what I love is that I think that you can do it all. Like, I feel like I've really like I've worked in a lot of different mediums, and I'm like, there's more to come too, you know? Here's two things. One, I decided that I was like, I mean, I love comedy improv. I love improving. I love to improvise and dance. So when they're like improv for 100 counts, I love that. But also I love to do like talking improv. So I was like, I want to study this a little more. So about a year and a half ago, I decided I was like, I'm going to take acting classes and improv class. And that's what I think kind of helped me as a dancer, because a lot of dancers, it's like, it's internal for us. I mean, it's a physical thing, you know, dancing, and for camera, hey camera, but and acting is a lot more. It is about the energy. So, and I think that's the hard thing about like commercial dance is like all of a sudden there's this little bit of an acting element that you kind of do have to turn on that like, you know, little like look at me kind of thing. But, and I also think, I find that the hard thing would be like, I think the commercial world is getting ready for that contemporary thing from kind of so you think you could dance. And just like in commercials you see more free movement, but it's hard because it's like in commercial dance there isn't a lot of classical dance, do you know what I mean? So it's kind of coming to, I think though it's coming around to that point. I notice more and more that when I go to commercial auditions, it's like, it's definitely like, we want to see you, we want to see free movement, we want you to let it, like it's not so, I don't know, like pop and lock or choreography or jazz or something. I don't know if that makes sense. That's my one advice I would say for a lot of like classical dancers is like, go take an acting class. Just being able to stand there and be comfortable without moving, I think is really important. I mean, it was very hard at first. I mean, definitely right after graduation. I mean, about the first year, I would cry after every audition. I'd be like, oh my God, like, I don't know, like, what's going on? And it was so hard, and it was like tumultuous, and I just was like, oh, this is horrifying. I mean, I auditioned for the Rockettes 5 times to get it. I mean, like, literally. And I know it was good enough. I mean, we're just doing like, I mean, it's hard, but it's like, for any classical dancer, I think they could do it. I mean, they just have the technique to be able to do that work. So, I mean, I was just like, I don't understand, why am I getting it? Like, oh my God, you know, and I just, through time and just experience and understanding, like, it's not just about your technique, boo. It's so many things. It's like, also, this is what I say to people is like, just by going to the audition is important, because so many times it's about them knowing you and them kind of getting to know you and your energy. I mean, let's say you were if I was hiring for a show, I'm gonna hire all the people I know. I'm gonna hire you. I'm gonna be like, I know her work. I know what she's giving. She kind of established a name for herself. I know your work ethic. I've seen you at enough auditions now to be like, that's you know the kind of dancer she is. People expect to just walk in one time and get the gig. It's like very rarely does that you're like a diamond in the rough. Like, good luck. That never happens. You have to sort of create like sort of like a name for yourself. And after a while, you get to know everyone in the auditions. You know, you got your audition friends. You know what I'm saying? You have the choreographers get to know you. Oh yeah, I remember you were at my last audition for da-da-da-da-da. And then they start to know you, and you build relationships. I think getting work is about relationships. And it's not like you have to go out to like, you know, industry parties and like, you know, but maybe it does mean that. I don't know. And sometimes people are afraid to kind of go that way. But it really is about that. It's about knowing. I mean, I worked with Julie Taymor on Grendel, on Across the Universe, and now she's doing Spiderman. I've done all 3. I mean, is that like a surprise? No, it's because I've built a relationship with her. She knows who I am. We've worked together. You know what I mean? And that goes, I mean, a lot of the women in Spiderman worked with her several times too, and men. So, I mean, for me, coping with it, I remember like doing cries and things, but like eventually you just kind of, you're like, you get your first gig and you get that confidence and you're like, all right, I got this. I mean, you still have to go to the, you know, those auditions. Now it's like, okay, once you get an agent, you know, and agents have auditions, like go to those auditions, you know, they're in the backstage and online, you know, and you go, and then I can go to like private calls where there's only like 30 girls opposed to 300, and that makes a big difference, you know, you're seen, you get to be seen. I mean, how can you be seen in a pool of 300 women? It's like, you got to be wearing like a clown suit basically. Do you know what I mean? So it's through time, and I think people get discouraged easily. They think their talent isn't good enough. They think that they don't have it. They think, you know, all these negative things, and it's like it has nothing to do with that. Your talent is there. It just needs to be seen in the right way. Do you know what I mean? And that just takes time. And if you look at any person who's like mad famous, it's like, you know, they didn't just like all of a sudden wake up and they were like, I'm famous. I mean, rarely. Most people did the work. And I think people are afraid of work. They're afraid to do something that's outside of maybe what they're comfortable in. You know, so if you're a classical ballerina, it's like, and you're interested in doing other things, it's like, dude, go take like comedy improv. Like, just go do it. You're gonna meet a whole new set of people and have a whole different experience. It can only add to your dancing. It's only gonna add to it. It's not gonna deter. You still can go to class.